So I'm going to break this presentation up into 3 separate kind of entities. So I'll talk about the mechanics of my e-portfolios, and then a little bit about the content, and then third, why e-portfolios as a vehicle. But to start all that off, e-portfolios are really great for having your online presence, but since we're face-to-face today, I'll just take a second to introduce myself. My name is Cathryn Schwing. I'm wrapping up my sophomore year pretty quickly here at Virginia Tech. I study marketing management and religion. Something I think you should know about me for this presentation makes sense is when I came into Virginia Tech and I interacted with the orientation leaders and Hokie camp counselors and saw how cool they were, right? Like when you're a little freshman and you're just like, oh, I want to be them when I grow up, because you're still in high school and you don't know what you're doing in college. And I saw how involved all these students were, and so that was something that really classified my freshman year. So from August through when I left for the summer, I joined 16 different organizations, which is just too much, right? Like that's not how college is supposed to be. You're supposed to sleep and try things out. But I was just so desperate to become this kind of idealized version of what I thought I wanted to accomplish in college that I was doing stuff I wasn't even really passionate about. Like I did marketing for the basketball team. I've never been to a basketball game. So just that experience, I think, has shown me how much college has to offer, but we don't have to bite it all off at one time. So I got pretty involved with e-portfolios my freshman first semester. If you all were here for Ashley's talk, she talked about the intro to business class that we took, and we had really just cut and dry objectives for all of that. And then this here, I live in a living learning community called Serve Still. Pritchard for life, yay! So I have 2 separate e-portfolios from the class associated with that, and we'll go into that in just a hot second. So I'm debating which one I want to start with first. So I got pretty involved with e-portfolios. I actually work in the e-portfolio office, so I have an e-portfolio on just about every platform there is out there. I use Wix, Weebly, Scholar, Google Sites, SpringPad. You can make an e-portfolio out of Pinterest. It has been done. I've seen it. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about today about leadership and civic engagement, because that's definitely how these 2 portfolios are framed. So I think one of the most important questions you need to ask yourself or your students, if you're assigning them to do this, is what is the focus of my e-portfolio? Because at the end of my freshman year, when I was like, oh my gosh, everyone has these really professional e-portfolios and they describe everything that they've done in their time in college, how can I frame that in a way that makes sense to people? And at the end of the day, I decided, not that I couldn't, but I didn't want to. I didn't think it gave enough space to some of the really cool, important stuff that I was passionate about doing, which is why I have like 7 e-portfolios. I don't know, it's a little out of control. They're addicting, I promise. And they're super easy to make. You don't even need to be technologically savvy, as you'll probably see as I struggle through this presentation. So this website is called Cathryn Cares. That's a cute little logo I made. Just kidding, it's on Wix. So this is just documentation of the service work that I've been doing in my time at Tech. This wasn't assigned, this isn't part of a class, this isn't something I would show an employer. But it allows me the time and space to reflect on what I'm doing in my community and communities I visit, and I think that is pretty neat. So just like some of the other portfolios, this is a homepage, duh. And so I said I would talk a little bit about the mechanics of an e-portfolio. So another challenge I think in portfolios is making them readable. You get really close to the content you're working with because it's either stuff you're doing or stuff that you want to convey to someone else. And you need to present it in a way that invites the reader into it. So even though this might not be something I send to grad school or, I don't know, to an interviewer, it still needs to be something that makes sense outside of my realm of understanding. So, this is the why I do what I do. It's pretty short. Yeah, there you go. That's all you need to know. So, talking about the experiential learning aspect of college, I think is really important. If you have students, if you're a faculty member or if you're a student and you're just waking up and going to class, you're missing out on so much. There's so much out there. Go do stuff. So this is the experiential learning page. This is kind of outlining, that's counterintuitive, you scroll down. This is something I think is really important with ePortfolio learning. It talks about where you've been and where you are and where you're going. So here I kind of outline my philosophy from high school when it came to service, and I was like, you should go build houses because people are less fortunate. Okay, that's not really what service needs to be. That's not exactly how it has to look. There's a lot of different components that go into that. So this gives me the space to explore that in a way that was really meaningful to me, which is not what an ePortfolio is about. Let's see. Okay, I broke the experiential learning down into service projects, which could be just one day, service immersion trips, which are more like a week or a summer project that I did, and then long-term projects, which is stuff I did frequently. So being in Serve my freshman year, every Friday, I went to Feeding America Southwest Virginia in Salem and packed food, lots and lots and lots of food. And then I get the opportunity to talk about that. I kind of keep track of the hours. I don't know why, but I did. And just everyone else has talked about the slideshows they use. Touching on the content aspect of my ePortfolio, I don't really take a lot of pictures when I'm out on service trips. That feeds into my philosophy of that you should never be exploiting the community where you're working. So taking a lot of pictures and being like, oh, I'm gonna put this on social media because you're a cute little kid and I am doing something cool with my Saturday. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Also, if it's 100 degrees when I'm working at work camp, like that's not the kind of face I want on the internet. Like that's just not a good look for anybody. So I don't have a lot of pictures, but it still gives me the time and space to reflect on what I did, why I did it, what I learned from it, what I could do better in the future. It always allows me the opportunity to go back, so maybe I haven't been to the rescue mission in a while, but it's still one of my favorite organizations because this is really cool. They never turn someone away, so I don't know if you've ever worked at a homeless shelter and they're like, oh, we're full, sorry. They'll let people sleep on the floor. It's so cool. If you have an opportunity to go, you should. Shameless plug. And this is just talking a little bit about me. I said ePortfolios are definitely representations of who we are. So maybe this isn't, super intensive. This is cute stuff. My favorite food is potatoes. Like maybe that doesn't let you know a whole lot about me, but it lets me frame the work I'm doing in a way that makes sense to me and that I hope makes sense to the reader. So coming over here, like I said, computers are hard. So this is part of a leadership course I took in the spring semester of my freshman year. It was, I don't remember what it's called. It's not ringing any bells. It was like civic, what was it? Exploring citizenship, that's what it was. I probably should have that as the title instead of Leadership 1016. But this is one of the really cool things about ePortfolios, and I use this portfolio as a presentation a lot, so some people in this audience have probably heard me whine about this before. But I was part of the worst group project of my life in this class. It was so, so awful, and I can't explain, well, I attempted to explain in this portfolio, so I shouldn't say I can't explain it, but it was really bad from just beginning to end. So the cool thing I think about an ePortfolio, especially, I get a lot of questions when I present this portfolio. Oh, it's a leadership class, isn't that kind of fluffy? How do I apply that if I'm a biology professor or if I'm in mechanical engineering? And you say something along the lines of, it gives you the room to admit defeat. When you do an essay, so this kind of goes into the vehicle of ePortfolios, you have to defend yourself and say, this is what I tried and this is why I was successful, and here I don't have to pretend to be successful because it so was not. I get to say it was really hard and my teammates were really challenging people to work with. And at the end of the day, I learned a lot. I didn't do a lot of cool service work. I don't think I've had a huge impact on my community, but it gives me the ability to unpack that in a way that made sure when I did stuff like this in the future, it went, oh, a lot better. It was really good. assignment because it didn't have a syllabus. They let me do whatever I wanted, which I like. So just, I won't go too much into it. You've seen a lot of presentations today. It has stuff, links to essays I've written, blogs that I had to write, my end of semester reflection paper. So that's the mechanics, I guess, of my e-portfolio, talking a little bit more about why it is that I decided to do 2 separate e-portfolios. I don't think that me saying I have to have one e-portfolio to fit in everything I feel about how I interact with my community necessarily makes sense. So I really like the possibilities that e-portfolios give. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about that. If you're a student and you're interested in creating an e-portfolio, like I said, I have them for just about everything. I have a professional development one, community service one. I'm running for an officer election this weekend, and I made an e-portfolio for that. It's really cute. I'd love to show you. So if you're a student interested in making one, I'll be floating around. I work in the office, so you can probably get my email contact from someone around here. I'll be here. Or if you're a faculty member and you're trying to implement an effective learning technology with e-portfolios, I would love to meet and talk about that with you. So.